Hello, my name is Paul Edwards. Welcome to Man Friendly Church, a channel dedicated to bringing equality back into the house of God, so we have an equal number of men and women. We do this in two ways. First, by understanding how men and women think differently, and second, by promoting methods that encourage men to attend and become part of the local church. Today I want to ask the question, is the church risk averse? Well, we took a risk by joining this church, we took a risk by following God, but is your church averse to risk now? Some of you might be looking at this picture and thinking, ooh, that's height, I don't do height, that's too scary. The trouble is, you might be thinking, whenever anything comes up at church, that's too scary, that could go wrong. If someone has an idea that may not work and brings it to a committee meeting at your church, how likely is your church to try that idea? Maybe someone's had this great idea to do an outdoor event, and you're going to have a church service in the park, or you're going to be doing your evangelism in the town centre, or you're going to be doing something else. You fill in the blanks. Is it too risky? Or maybe you've got a church meeting that's been going on for years. You've had this same meeting on a Wednesday evening and it's there and it's to do something and it's not really been working for a while, but it's still there because you don't want to upset anyone and you're just going to keep this meeting going. And someone suggests, let's get rid of this meeting, let's replace it with. And you think, no, we might upset people, we might lose people, we can't do this. Then you're risk averse if you're answering yes to these questions. Maybe you need to reconsider it. This channel is about being a man-friendly church, and the reality is men like risk. To be honest, if you look at this picture here, how many of you really thought that was a lady riding that bike? Probably almost none of you. We look at that and we automatically assume it's a bloke because men are more likely to take a risk. And in fact, scientists have even proven this reaction to risk when it comes just to crossing the road. And if you look at this statistically, if it's in blue, it's men they've looked at, and if it's in pink, it's women they've looked at. If people arrive at the junction, the chances are men are more likely to cross than women. Women are more likely to wait. And that doesn't matter whether it's no risk of crossing the road, low risk, risky, or even high risk. The women are less likely to cross straight away because they're more careful. Whereas the men just want to get on and do it. It's a different way of thinking for men. If you want more information, you can look below and you'll see a link to this investigation. Funnily enough, there's more risks in a church when it's new. Start-up congregations lead men's gifts. Men are more risk takers. And so when you take risks when you start a church, well, you've got to get into a building. You're risking the money to rent it or buy it. People may or may not turn up. And risks are taken and men get involved. They want to be involved with this. This excites them. This is actually investigated by David Murrow in the book, Why Men Hate Going to Church. But as the church grows, it gets to a certain size and the priority changes. Instead of we need to get new people in the church, we need to keep the ones we've got. We don't want to upset people. We don't want to do anything that's risky. We don't want to rock the boat. And the church stops taking risk. The men stop being interested. And the congregation balance changes. You hang on to the ladies, but the men start to disappear. So why do churches avoid risk? Well, the church turns itself almost into the cabin steward mentality. When you get on an aeroplane, the steward who greets you is there to make you comfortable, make sure you enjoy the journey. They don't want to challenge you, they don't want to put you at risk, they just want you to be comfortable, enjoy it and go away with a good report. And the thing is, in church, that's what we want. We want people to become comfortable, enjoy being at the church. We don't want to risk losing anyone. We're scared of losing members. The thing is, as you go like that, the men tend to fall away and the ladies stay. So the church becomes much more female balanced. And then when it comes to meetings, when decisions are made, security is more important. So the more secure, safer decisions are made. And your leaders, even if they're men, they want to please the majority of their membership. So when decisions are made, they're going to do things that the women are more likely to like. And I think another reason is people misunderstand the Bible. Say, I've been a church leader for years, I know my Bible. What do you mean, get it wrong? 1 Timothy 3 verses 1 to 3 says, is a trustworthy statement. If any man aspires to the office of overseer, it is a fine work he desires to do. An overseer then must be above reproach, the husband of one wife, temperate, and here's the dangerous word, prudent, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not addicted to wine or pugnacious, but gentle, peaceable, free from the love of money. So the men starts to be prudent. We tend to think that means we can't do anything that's at risk because that's not prudent. But I want to say taking zero risks is not prudent. Taking a risk is actually more prudent. If you want your church to grow, it requires regular risk. Paul's mission was to grow the church, and he took a lot of risks. Every one of his journeys was risky. He was beaten, he was chucked out of areas, he was banned from the synagogue. They were risks. But we as a church, we wouldn't want to take those risks. Even Jesus says risk was a good thing when it came to business. Matthew 25 verses 14 to 30. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who was going to another place for a visit. Before he left, he called for his servants and told them to take care of his things while he was gone. He gave one servant 5 bags of gold, another servant 2 bags of gold, and a third servant 1 bag of gold. To each one as much as he could handle. Then he left. The servant who got 5 bags went quickly to invest the money and earn 5 more bags. In the same way, the servant who had 2 bags invested them and earned 2 more. But the servant who got 1 bag went out and dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, the master came home and asked the servants what they did with his money. The servant who was given 5 bags of gold brought 5 more bags to the master and said, Master, you trusted me to care for 5 bags of gold, so I used your 5 bags to earn 5 more. The master answered, you did well. You are a good and loyal servant. Because you are loyal with small things, I will let you care for much greater things. Come and share my joy with me. Then the servant who had been given 2 bags of gold came to the master and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of gold to care for, so I used your 2 bags to earn 2 more. The master answered, you did well. You are a good and loyal servant. Because you are loyal with small things, I will let you care for much greater things. Come and share my joy with me. Then the servant who had been given 1 bag of gold came to the master and said, Master, I knew that you were a hard man. You harvest things you did not plant. You gather crops where you did not sow any seed. So I was afraid and went and hid your money in the ground. Here's your bag of gold. The master answered, you are a wicked and lazy servant. You say you knew that I harvest things I did not plant, that I gather crops where I did not sow any seed. So you should have put my gold in the bank. Then when I came home, I would have received my gold back with interest. So here we see Jesus was encouraging investment. Investment means taking risk. If you go and buy any form of investment in the stock market, your financial advisor will tell you there's a risk, but that's where the growth comes. If you put your money in the bank, it will grow slowly. If you put your money in the stock market, it will grow faster. If you dig a hole in the ground, it's not going to grow. Jesus was encouraged and encouraged the people who actually took a bit of a risk. But let me put it in a reality sense. If your church only wants to keep what it has and avoids doing anything that would encourage growth and be a risk, you're going to keep all your same people. The problem is they're going to all get old and eventually they're all going to die. How many churches do you know that have folded because nobody new came into them? They were once upon a time a thriving church, but now they've gone. They're just history. I also want to say the church will attract more men if they're taking risks. If your church takes risks, men will like that. They will get encouraged by it and they will join in. The thing is though, when the men arrive, they'll bring their wives, their girlfriends with them, their family. But if a lady comes, she will struggle much more to bring a man with her, especially if it's a very safe environment that the men are not comfortable with. Women are much easier to come with the security of their boyfriends, husbands, and see the risk taking place because they trust their men. If you don't think that's the truth, have a look at the book. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's the different mindsets of men and women. It's not me being sexist. That's reality about the differences between the sexes. So in summary, many churches really are risk averse. And this risk aversion, it can be caused by a few different things. Fear of failure, need for security, reality-wise, lack of men in the church, and a misunderstanding of the Bible. Men like risk. It's just a fact. And also Jesus encouraged risk. So here's your to-do list. These are your challenges. If you realise your church is risk averse, what can you do? I want to challenge you. Next time there's an organisation meeting at your church and you're about to refuse something or vote it down, sit back and ask yourself why. Why are we saying no? And if you're saying it's because it's a high risk, think, is the return good enough to make the risk worthwhile? If it is, don't make the decision immediately. Put it off until the next meeting. Say, we're going to pray and think about this. And then make a decision with God on your side. I'm not saying take stupid risks, but take a reasonable risk when God's saying it and go where God's leading you. If you find this video today useful, please click on the like button. It helps YouTube recommend me to other people. Also, you can subscribe. And if you even click on the bell as well, you'll get notification every time I bring a new video out. And of course, if you want the church to become more man-friendly, recommend this channel to your friends or to other people you think it might be useful for. Thank you and God bless.